Hi there. Welcome to the FP2 User Settings video tutorial. This tutorial will show you how to use default search and window location settings to create a personalized FP2 user interface. In FP2, each user can set up their own interface, which will automatically load when you enter your password. We're going to set this interface up as if you were an FPO. FPOs tend to have more scheduled and ongoing activities, so they're a good example to use. In this tutorial, we will cover toolbar setup, startup preferences, default searches, list templates, window size and location. Section 1, toolbar setup. The first component of a user interface is usually the toolbar. By default, the toolbar appears on the left-hand side of the screen, displays large-sized icons, and has the home page icon on it. You can modify the size, location, and icons on the toolbar by going to the File menu and selecting Toolbar Setup. The Toolbar Setup window displays icons for available modules on the left, the icons selected for your toolbar on the right, and the toolbar settings at the bottom. To set up your toolbar, drag icons from the section on the left to the toolbar section on the right. Icons will appear on the toolbar in the same order as you set them up on the right side. If you want to change the order, you can drag and drop them into the order that you want. Since we're setting things up for an FPO, I'm going to grab the Properties module, the Inspections module, the Public Education module, the Smoke Alarms module, the Contacts module, and the Reminders module to set up my toolbar. You can also control the size of the icons and the location of the toolbar using the options at the bottom. I'm going to leave the icons at a large size, but I'll switch them to run horizontally across the top of my window instead of vertically down the left side. As you make changes, you'll notice that the Cancel Changes and Save Changes buttons on the top left of the toolbar are lit up. When I save, I'll see the toolbar change immediately. Section 2, Startup Preferences. The next component of the user settings is the startup preferences. To open the user preferences window, go to the File menu and select the Preferences option. The Preferences window should appear. Notice that there are several tabs at the top of the Preferences window. FP2 uses tabs a lot. They allow us to fit more information into a smaller space and help keep that information organized. For this window, we're going to begin with the Startup tab, which sets which modules appear automatically when you log into FP2. You'll also be able to set the size, location, and default searches for these modules, and we'll talk more about that when we look at how the module windows work. Turn on the checkboxes for the modules you want to appear when you first log into FP2. Since tracking scheduled inspections of properties and returning to re-inspect addresses are a big part of keeping on track as an FPO, I'm going to select FP2 to start the Properties and the Inspections module automatically when we log in. Section 3, Default Searches. The Startup tab allowed us to set which windows automatically appear in FP2, and we can also set the default size, location, and search on those windows. This is done by saving defaults in list windows. In the Introduction to FP2 tutorial, we learned how to save searches on a list window. The default search option sets a saved search so that it's run each time when the list window is open. I'm going to set up two saved searches, one in the Properties window and one in the Inspections window, and then save them as defaults. For the Property search, I'm going to go to the Properties list window, then open the Inspection tab. This tab lets me search for properties that have scheduled recurring inspections. I can also search for properties with a default inspector assigned to them. I'm going to start by running a search for all the properties with an inspection scheduled on them this month, where Rick Maida is the default inspector. Once I've run the search and located the properties, I'll save it. I'm going to save this search as current month Rick, and then save that. Once I have the search saved, I can right-click on the list window and select Set Default Search. Now, when I open this window with this user, I'll automatically see all properties with recurring inspections scheduled on it for the current month that are assigned to me. The next search I'm going to set up is in the Inspections list window. I'm going to search for any inspections with scheduled reinspection dates. I'm going to look for all dates. I'll look for main and follow-up type inspections with Rick Maida as the inspector and with a status of not closed. I will run this search and then I'll save it as Rick Reinspections, then set it as my default search. This means that when I open the inspection window, I'll automatically see any inspections which are assigned to Rick, which have a reinspection date scheduled, and which are not closed. Section 4, List Templates. List windows don't just let you save searches, they let you save list templates as well. List templates determine what information is displayed in the list component of the list window. There are 3 parts to each list template: the columns that are visible, the order and width of the columns, and the column sorting options. For this template, I'm going to go to the property list window and set up a template to allow Rick to quickly see important information on the properties that have scheduled inspections. As we can see, there's a number of columns on the list that aren't particularly useful. So we're going to remove those and select ones that are. To modify which columns are visible on a list, right-click on the gray column list headers on the list. In the list that appears, the options with check boxes are the ones that are currently visible. To turn a column on or off, just left-click it on the drop-down. I'm going to turn on the inspection due, last inspection, primary occupant, columns, and then I'll turn off everything else. Now I want to modify the order in which the columns appear. To do that, just left-click on the column you want to move and drag it to the location where you want it. A little reorganizing, we'll have this all set up. In addition to moving the columns around, I can resize them by left-clicking on the side of the column. See where the cursor changes? And dragging them to the new size. If I double-click on this location, the columns will automatically resize themselves to match up with the contents of the column. The last thing I can do is set the sorting options for the list. If you want to have several levels of sorting, you can use the Choose Multiple Columns to Sort button to the right of the list. But in this case, I only want to sort by inspection due date. So I'm going to left-click on the inspection header for the inspection due column. That will sort everything in ascending order by inspection due date. I could click again to set it to descending order. Once I have my list set up the way I want it, I'll need to save the template by clicking on the Add a New Template button next to the template list at the bottom of the list section. I'm going to call this one Scheduled Inspections. After you save a template, I can right-click on the inspection template drop-down list and select an option to Save as my list template. This is the same thing as setting a default search. It becomes the template that's used when you open this list window. Watch what happens. Section 5, Window Size and Location. Finally, you can set the size and location where the window appears on the screen. You can do this with both list windows and record windows, but for the purposes of the FPO, we'll just be doing the list windows that we created searches for, properties and inspections. Move the list window to the place on the screen where you want it to appear. You can click on the blue bar at the top of the window to drag it around, and you can click on the edges to resize it. When the window is in the right size and location, right-click on it and select the Save Window Size and Location option. Now, when I log into the system again, that's exactly where the windows will appear. At this point, I can log out of the program and relog in, and we'll see everything come together. The windows will appear exactly where I requested them, and the saved searches and list templates will appear automatically. Now all the information I need to keep organized is right in front of me. And the best part is that these tools work the same way in all the FP2 modules. Using the Startup Preferences, Toolbar and Window Defaults, and List templates, each user can create their own FP2 interface and make searching in any module quick and convenient. Thank you for watching the second FP2 video tutorial. Stay tuned for more in the future.